this is Matt with Let's Talk Music. I'm here with Nate Garrison of the band Preacher. He's joining us from Reno, Nevada this evening. It's still technically evening.
There you go. Hey, it's October, so I think after 3 o'clock we can say evening, right?
So, anyways, man, we were just kind of bullshitting there for a second before we got started, and we're just talking about general life and stuff, and now it's time to talk music. So
I'm in.
Let's talk about this new single, man. Live, Laugh, Lobotomy.
Yeah, very exciting, to be completely honest. It's just one of the more ambitious things we've done as a band. And my favorite thing about it, it's like, it doesn't sound like anything at the moment. Like, you can kind of take nuances of stuff that you've heard before, but like, it's hard to kind of pinpoint anything. And like, trust me, since we've been on the road for so long this year, you kind of start hearing like the same things over and over and over again. And, everybody follows the trends. So it felt good to kind of just go against the norm. And we're like, you know what? This is what it is. This is the first single we're going to release off this new record that's about to come out. And we couldn't be happier that it's just, when you first hear it, it sounds like the dumbest thing that you've ever heard. And then it turns into something awesome,
I didn't think it sounded dumb at all, but
Well, to us, as like everything past like what we've written and everything, we couldn't help but like just laugh every time we heard that intro, and we're like, we're not serious about this at all. We're like, you know what? Leave it in, because it's even better.
Right. So what's the writing process behind it? What was what's the word I'm looking for? The inspiration for the title.
Okay, so Live, Laugh, Lobotomy. It's, I don't know. The song itself is about just frustration with the monotony, right? Kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde, American Psycho kind of feeling, where like, I don't know if you ever watched SpongeBob SquarePants, when they made that little clip where that guy's just literally in his office, in his car, and then he's back home, and his wife's like, come to bed, and he's like, okay, so it's just like literally just living out the monotony of life and trying not to go absolutely ape shit,
Right.
Can I cuss on here?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yes, we are completely uncensored unless it has
I'm just making sure. I'm sorry. My mom's also a sailor, she can't spell, and every other, I thought my name was fuck for like the longest time. So
I thought mom was dumbass, so but no, it's it's a pretty groovy song. And when you said it, you can't really pinpoint it. The first band that came to my mind once you got into the clean part was Under Oath. Have you ever heard
you said Under Oath? Or
Under Oath? Have you ever heard of
it? Yeah, absolutely. We got to see them play this year, and they're ridiculous, man. Like, you ever see a band where you're like, okay, they just put on clinics every time they play? That's that band. They're never gonna not be good. You know what I mean?
And that's what it sounded like to me, because I was like, oh my God, they remind me of that one band, and I've got like 8 songs by them on my phone, and I'm sitting there and I'm like,
well,
who is it? And finally,
I would say that's a first for us. So, but definitely, I will definitely take that compliment any day of the week.
Well, it's if you think about like how there's a lot of their songs start with the unclean lyrics, and then they come in with the clean, which, see, when you guys did that, and when I first heard Under Oath, I did not expect that from either one of you. I thought
absolutely.
it was going to be completely unclean and stuff. And then when you came with, I'm like watching the video, like, okay, is that the singer? Is that the drummer? Because there's it all depends. Like, the band Atreyu, you got the singer that's all unclean, and then the drummer does the clean lyrics. So it's like, I'm kind of like looking, I'm like, okay, this dude's doing the same, doing both of them. So, and that's amongst that genre, that's kind of a odd thing too, because normally you've got 2 different guys. You got one that does the clean, one that does the unclean. So
no, so that's actually true. So I do most of like most of like the screaming and everything like that. We've just now been breaking into, or like, I'm like singing along with our guitar player. So like I'd say I'm actually in the chorus for the first time, like on a bigger part, but most of the time it's our guitar player singing.
Oh, okay. Because see, the
Yeah.
video, I couldn't tell that, and that's what I was like. So, and the video itself was cool. I mean, you was kind of explaining the meaning of the song, and I mean, the American Psycho and stuff, and you could get that with the costumes and everything. And
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it was just like kind of trying to bring a life like where it's like you kind of like Fight Club, you know what I mean? Where it's just like the guy kind of goes in and out and he's just like enjoying himself, but he doesn't really know that he's just making up a separate consciousness to get away, you know?
yeah.
So many examples, man. There's a lot of movies like that.
Oh
Well,
yeah, yeah. But that was a perfect one right there because that is one trippy ass movie.
I love that movie. It's so good.
So, I mean, how did you guys come about, man? I mean, what was the, like, your big moment of where you're like, okay, we want to form a band?
Well, this is like a very funny one just because I don't know. I don't know if you believe in like fate or like any type of serendipity. I mean, I originally just didn't want to play music anymore because like I've been at it since I was like 16 years old and I just wanted to do something different after like I poured my lifeblood into so many other projects, and just came up short and just got burned out. And I was even looking at my wife. I was like, man, I don't know if I'll ever do this again. She's like, and I'm like, oh, shut up, And then I was working with bands at that point. Like I decided to take what I knew and was trying to give it back to like the local bands in my scene. I even picked up a camera to try to become like a camera guy, which I'm very terrible at taking pictures, but I was doing really well with videos. So I was just trying to hook everybody up with any type of content that, like for free,
Mhm.
because I understood in their situation like how hard it was to come by and how important it was, but also like just starting out how expensive it could be. So with that, I was just kind of hanging out with everybody and just started meeting people through the scene, and everybody just kept asking the same question. So when are you coming back? When are you gonna start doing your own thing? When are you gonna start doing this? And I was like, guys, I'm done. I don't ever want to do this again. I'm just here to help you out. And then a friend of mine was just like, no, dude, like our drummer now, Alan Terry, they're like, no, he's actually looking to maybe start a project. And he heard that you're just kind of out there drifting and not doing anything. Can I kind of link you guys up? And I was like, well, sure. I'm like, I'm not going to really waste his time or anything. Like I was like, I hope he doesn't get his hopes up because I don't know. I don't see myself wanting to get back on the road or do any of that. And then he was like, dude, just come have lunch with me. I was like, cool. Yeah, it wouldn't hurt. Just kind of sit down and talk about it. Maybe we could do like an internet project or something like that. And then my guitar player, who is Stanley Neal,
Mhm.
who does all the singing and plays the guitar now like a madman. Me and him actually hadn't talked in like almost a year because we had like a huge falling out with each other. And then he just calls me on a whim because he moved to California and was like, bro, I'm in town. I want to see you. Let's squash our stuff. We're brothers. And I'm like, absolutely, I would love to. And I was like, but I'm actually on my way to this meeting. Do you want to go with me? I was like, this is kind of weird timing. And he's all, dude, I would love to go with you. And I was like, cool. So um, one of the best guitar players I know, going to sit down with now I think one of the best producers I've ever met and drummers. And we all just kind of sat down in a BJ's brewery and a booth. And we all just started showing ideas to each other. And we're like, man, we are all just so on the same page. It's kind of scary. And then the name Preacher, I kind of already had that in my book, like ready to rock when I was driving over there for some reason. Because everyone's like, what would you want to call this? I'm like, Preacher. And everyone's like, are you sure? And I'm like, look it up. You can't find it anywhere. There's no band's name Preacher or anything like that. And it's like, for some reason, I like the name. So it was all like predetermined, but we went into this so graciously. Like we were like, we're not going to do this long term and we're not going to go super hard like we used to and everything like that. We're just going to have fun. So, and then we just like started writing songs and just started going vast because we've all, kind of been writing behind the scenes. I never stopped. Alan never really stopped, and neither did Stan. So we just kind of had all these songs that we put together, and that's what we made our first album out of.
Wait.
And then they're like, "Hey, you guys want to play a show?" And we're like, "You know what? Why not? That sounds awesome." And then we did, and it's 5 years later now.
So you was talking about you just got off of a long stint off the road. So where were you guys playing at?
So we did our third EP. Sorry, I'm just losing count because we have put so much music out because we are self-produced. We have our own recording studio, which our drummer does everything for us, and he just gets better by the day. So every time that happens, we're like back in the studio. We gotta write stuff and everything. So, but we just produced a record called Dream State, and it was released this year. which is crazy to think about because it feels like years ago because of how long we went. But we decided to go, instead of doing like the typical, hey, we're going to do an EP release, right? Where you just have all the biggest bands you could find come and invite all your friends and try to throw out the biggest show possible. We were like, I don't want to do that this time. I was like, why don't we just go tour on this record ourselves? And everyone's like, never thought of it like that. So we just started picking up all the phones of people that we knew and that we've already played shows with over the markets over the last couple of years before like COVID and everything like that.
Right.
And we're just like, book us. And then right after that, my phone just like started ringing and ringing and ringing to where I had over 6 or 7 months booked and we were gone like every weekend.
Oh,
And we
okay.
went anywhere from Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, Oklahoma, California, like been everywhere. Idaho, we just kept going and going and going. So, and then we just now capped off because we got back from Blue Ridge Rock Festival. Was that August? I think that was August.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then we played September in Lodi, California, and then we capped off the year, which we had some stuff lined up, but like schedules kind of got conflict. But since we've been out so long, even our management's like, maybe you guys should take a couple months and take a break. So we were like, that doesn't sound like the worst idea. So
Right.
we capped off the rest of our year without knowing it with a Skylit Drive at their hometown show in Roseville, California, and that was on October 13th.
Oh, okay.
So really haven't been off for that long, but long enough to where we're like already starting to be like, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go. So
So what's the plans for 2023?
so far, we are already booked out until April.
Nice.
And it's just now the first week in November. So I am kind of terrified to keep checking my emails because things just keep coming in. So, and then with what we've kind of accomplished this year, it's kind of opened up doors to like bigger opportunities with bands that are like on a way higher caliber than us. So we kind of have to kind of play our schedules a little loosely because we're at that point, we're at like their beck and call, right? If they're like, hey, we want to go these times, these dates, we can't say no.
Right.
You're like, hell yeah, we're ready to rock and we got to be ready at all times. So on top of that, like we're still doing our DIY stuff that we love to do, but also counting on the back end as far as like communicating with all the teams that we met to make sure we can stay open and available to go off on those tours when they're ready.
Gotcha. So I mean, you talk about you was ready to give it up and get out of it and everything. Are you glad that this is happening now? I mean, are you a happy man is what I'm asking. I mean,
I'm as happy as I can be, right? Everybody has their own faults, but it's just like one of my best friends put it correctly. She told me, she's just like, it always like she's all music to you has always been your oxygen, and she's like, ever since like you stopped or started doing again, you can always see that you're just holding your breath until it's time to do that again. So
that's a pretty freaking awesome analogy.
that was that hit so hard at home for me because I didn't realize because like I was getting these funks when I'm not playing enough and everything like that. And I was just like, wow, that really summed that up for me.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's pretty awesome. I mean, and it sounds like must be a really good friend to know you like that.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have all my friends that do know me like that just because they know this is everything I've ever wanted. And I've made up my decision like long ago. I just think it took time to realize it. But now to actually have the team behind me and with like all the guys of us together, it's like it's very interesting to see everybody be on the same wavelength for once.
Right.
There's very few bands even now that are making millions of dollars that still don't see eye to eye or will go above and beyond for not only their fans but for each other and for their artistry and their music. Like it's very rare that you find those people that are just like, we're gonna die doing this, whether we be old or young, it doesn't matter. We're going as hard as we possibly can until we can't anymore.
Well, I mean, that's the only way to do it, man, especially in the music industry. I mean, it's
Yeah,
go big or go home.
pretty much. And it's terrifying, but it's so awesome at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that the mix of emotions has got to be kind of almost like a drug.
Yeah.
Like where you got the terrifying part and you've got the the feeling that you have when you're out on stage playing, and then the okay, what's next? It's so many different emotions wrapped up into one. And I mean, it has to be like, almost like a drug. Cause I mean, I know like when I do interviews, I get really excited. I read the press release again before right before we started, I was going through your press release again, listen to the song again, and it's like, it gets me amped up for it. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
and, I see you on video, but I have no idea what you really look like in person. Cause I've seen people on video that, don't look like that in person. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it's, it's exciting, it's fun, and that's why I do it. I mean, I have such a
Thank you for doing it. You know what I mean? Like this type of thing doesn't function without individuals like yourself. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that, man.
Too
And
many followers and not enough fans sometimes. You know what I mean?
I feel you. So, and I do it just because I have just an insatiable love for music. I mean, always have since I was, knee high to a grasshopper. Um, people will call me up, hey man, it goes da 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 da. What's this song? I'm like, oh, it's this. I mean, just right off the top of my head.
So
And
you're the Wikipedia guy, right? Like you're gonna
right. I mean,
songs.
I've watched. I used to just read all the useless. Like Hit Prater. I don't know if you remember that, but Hit Prater was a magazine back in the day, and I constantly bought. I was like a lifelong subscriber to them until, of course, everything went digital. But
Yeah.
I mean, Hit Prater was one of the best metal magazines out there, and like you could just, I could sit here with a textbook, and the next day I'm like, huh? And then I read this, Hit Prater, and so I'm like, oh, so what happened to this guy back in 1963 when he was like 8 years old, and it just,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
retained that information.
I miss music magazines so much sometimes because I remember that even growing up as a kid too, just getting them in the mail because like that's like it was before like everybody had such a big internet presence and like how did you learn to want to do these things or know the backstories of your people like and
Right.
stuff. So yeah, we would AP magazine man would come through the mail every
Yeah.
month.
I mean,
Get
or
every
I mean, if you wanted to know the lyrics to a song, you open up the cassette tape out and you read them,
am I aging myself with that or what?
Right. Same here. And I'm like, I remember a few times that I would look up the lyrics in the cassette, and they were actually wrong. And I'm like, the hell? Who wrote this? But
That is such a gem though, like because like the fact that you've listened to that song so many times and you go back and read something, you're like, oh, I don't know about that one, but still
right.
cool because it's like collecting something. You're like, oh, dude, I'll keep this for the rest of my life, because I know that that's wrong, but it just makes it that much more fun,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's your publicist, Shauna, she asked me,
Shauna, love you so much. She's the absolute best.
oh, she's fucking awesome. She messaged me and she was like, so are you having a good time? And I'm like, time of my life. She's like, that's awesome. She's like, you don't understand, how much these artists appreciate you talking to them. I'm like, really? Because I appreciate the shit out of them talking to me. I mean, so, but and it felt really good to hear that, and I'm not, I don't have any background in journalism or anything like that. I'm just, a guy that knows music, a guy that likes to talk about music. And, like most of our interview has been about your band, but now we're kind of getting off on another subject. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I love it. This is organic as hell. Like
Right.
that's how it should be.
And I don't like, I don't want to just sit there and like, well, who's your influences? Who's this? Who's that? What'd you do? It's, I, I try to make mine a little different, and whether I get 90,000 views or 90 views, it's just still fun for me, and it also allows me to you know hear new music. It allows me to try to help you guys get out there, because eventually what I want to do is start a podcast, and I want to do like maybe I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes of like just talking, maybe talking to somebody through a phone call or whatever, or, music news or what happened on this day in music or whatever. But then most of it I want to do is, your guys' music, people that I talk to, independent artists, like, okay, here's, Preacher with this song here, let's listen to this, and, and get it out there. And, YouTube is a great platform.
Yeah.
But, so is internet radio anymore. I mean, so it's like streaming TV. I mean, we gave up the cable shit, we stream, whatever. It's the same way. And I mean, podcasts are freaking exploding.
Well,
So
they are so calming, but also too on long car rides it is very entertaining versus like listening to music the entire way. Now, don't get me wrong, you gotta throw some of the music in there from time to time, keep things interesting, you know. But
right.
man, there's some of the wildest stories and things that have humbled me to the core just listening to a podcast, you
Oh
know.
man, I have got all kinds of stories from concerts, I'm telling you.
Awesome. You just need to do like an actual series of that. Just be like things that happened,
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
good or bad at a concert.
Well, I remember, yeah, just there's a lot of things that just probably I shouldn't say because people were that I know would be like, man, what the fuck? He never told me that.
Dude, just give them all aliases and just tell them to rock with it, you know?
Right, right. So, but yeah, I mean, it's it's exciting, it's fun, and I'm glad that you was able to get back into what you love because it
Absolutely.
and it is it's really tough to kind of give up your dream. You know what I mean? Like to just say, okay, I've tried. It's done nothing but cause me grief and pain and freaking money and this and that, and I give up. And then, like you said, I don't know if you believe in destiny or whatever, but yes, I do. And there you go, destiny. I mean, you met the perfect people to get your thing going, and now look at you, man. You're on fucking Let's Talk Music.
Yeah. I know this is like one of the cooler things I think I've ever gotten to do. So like thank you so much. This is so much fun, like just to be able to sit here and talk these things, you know.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
that's why I call it that, man. I mean, because like I said, I mean, I want to know some things about you. I want to know, how you came up with your name, how you came up with the song, this and that. Your writing process. The technical things that people want to know. But I also just want to bullshit with you. Like, hey,
Yeah. Hey, I'm great at that. You can ask my wife and all of my friends. You know, they're like, we have to pay Nate to shut up. They ask me, they call me like the background TV because like sometimes you tune in and you're like, oh, that's hilarious, and then after a while you're like, got it, just keeps going. You know?
So, outside of like, I'm not going to ask what your influences are. I want to know what do you like? What do you, when you're not jamming your songs, what do you listen to?
Oh, so I see. I get asked this a lot, and it's always like a weird question for me to answer because like everybody's expecting me to just list like top bands like in the genre, you know.
No, I mean, just what do you
See, I mean, tip of my hat, like I do listen to a lot of that stuff, but I'd say like my biggest like things I'll be slapping my ears is probably like hip hop
Okay.
or like anything that's going on the radio. I don't know why I love it so much, you know, because everyone's like, oh, turn that radio crap off. But me, I'm like, put the Doja Cat on, you know, put the J. Cole on, put Justin Bieber on. I don't know why I'm so addicted to it, but I absolutely love all of it, you know. Even Taylor Swift, I don't know, Britney Spears,
Right.
Backstreet Boys, you know, let it rip, you know, anything old school too, like Earth, Wind, and Fire, man, like Boston, Journey, you know, like anything but like what I'm like actually playing is it seems to be bumping, you know. We're also very huge Nickelback fans. We'll admit to that, you know, like, but we're OG. We're not like we just jumped on because it's funny to say they're cool. Like, nah, you can catch us on the road, like literally blasting Nickelback probably more times than we should,
Have
you
you
know.
heard the new song?
That's great.
Yeah. It's
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 great.
it's different. I mean, because I think I've seen them two or three times in concert. They're awesome live band.
Yeah.
I
I see.
mean,
I've never seen them live. I'd probably die if I did.
I seen them with here in Columbus. I seen them with Seether, and
Awesome.
it was just an amazing show. Freaking Chad and Sean got out there and did a song together, and it was freaking cool as shit. And Chad's like, man, that boy can scream, can he? And this is before Sean lost all of his weight, So I mean, he's out there just. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the best concerts I've seen, and I got no problem with saying Nickelback was a good band. Still is a good band.
Yo, if Nickelback ever sees this, take Preacher on tour. We would love to open and hang out with Nickelback forever. So huge fan. And Chad Kroger produce an album for us. Your drum tones and shit just ridiculous.
And Canadian bands, man, they rock anyway. You got Rush, you got oh my god, what was that one band? Triumph,
oh yeah,
all kinds of just badass bands that come out of Canada. And I mean, I actually did one a while back, a band called Valerian Sun that I interviewed that was really, really cool. They're or was it Valerian Sun? I can't remember. I've done so many recently.
Yeah, hey, no, Canada is
it's
like a hot spot for even like just movie actors and everything. Just pure insanity what they have available to them. So hey, we love you, Canada.
And I mean, I do. I try to do as many as I can, man. It's just because it's like I want to keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
I kind of laid off for a couple months. I had some issues going on, but got right back into it. And I let all the publicists that I work with know, and they were all cool. And as soon as I sent the email out like, hey, I'm ready to start again. Shauna was the first one, like, oh my god, I'm so glad you're back. Let's do this. And like she hit me with like 7 bands. So,
awesome.
And
well,
actually,
yourself. We need you out here, man.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm actually getting ready to. I just discussed with all of them if they care if I put down that they are my my publicity partners on my homepage and my website.
Oh, yeah.
So that they're getting out there, and it also ties me in with them and gets me some exposure, but it also gets them some exposure.
Oh yeah, you were the Preacher now. Sorry, dude. You're in the family. So anytime we're near you, do guest lists, and you come hang out with your boys anytime, any day of the week. All right.
Good, man. Any plans of making it out this far?
Next year, probably. Yeah.
Hell of a drive, dude. That's
Oh, that's nothing, man. We're so used to it, bro. Like road warriors. So I think our drive back from Blue Ridge in Virginia was like 42 hours home.
Oh yeah.
We went straight, man. I wish I would have booked tour dates on the way home, but schedules once again just didn't line up, and we toured out there versus toured home, and I would way have rather toured home. But since we now have a lot of things, which I can't say yet, but we're a lot more prepared and have a lot more time to make things even better. Awesome. So if I'm in Ohio, bet your sweet ass we're gonna have a drink together. All right.
Oh, I'm down. So, all right, brother. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate your time. Appreciate all the insight into your band, into you. And I will get this edited and up on YouTube. And you guys got, I'm sure, a Facebook.
Yeah, we've got everything, man. But ours is like Preacher NV for Nevada, like Nevada NV, like the state, just because there's a lot of people that were ripping our things, and it was really funny. A lot of people were like putting their music where our music was because they didn't go through the proper channels on the distro spot. So we had to change it just to get away from everything. But we're hoping to be bigger than all that, so we could eventually just go back to just Preacher. So, gotcha. But yeah, if you're having a hard time finding it, that's why. But if not, you should be able to find us just fine because we are a bunch of hooligans online. So.
Well, yeah, I'll shoot it your way once I get it all edited and done. So.
Sounds good to me. Well, it was lovely meeting you. I hope we get to do this again sometime. Don't be a stranger, and let us know if we can help you out in any way too.
All right, brother. Well, you have a good evening.
All right, rest your finger. Don't break anymore, all right?
I'm going to try, man. Well, that's the wrong one. Yeah, I can't, yeah.
It's not even the fun one, dude. You can't even hold it up and be like, hey, my finger's broken.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
All right, brother. Have a good one.